Hey!
Hey
Hello.
guys.
Hello. It's the One Piece
One
Book
Piece.
Club. You've been waiting
It
for.
is.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for
We've been waiting for. We've been on the edge of our seats for 40 minutes. Because I always show up
Woo.
to everything early. But yeah, welcome to the One Piece Book Club. I hope you guys have read chapters 1 through 100 of One Piece. If not, sucks to suck. Good job, guys. If you watch the anime, you're in the wrong place. Get out. And so
This is a book club.
This is a book club where you read books. Come on, guys. But yeah. So just for introductions, hey, I'm Aloha. I run the channel here, and pretty much my experience with One Piece is like a lot of people, the 4Kids dub back in the day. And also, I watched randomly Punk Hazard, and then also the Dressrosa arc. But other than that, I pretty much am pretty blind about One Piece. So that's one reason I wanted to do this book club, just so I can read through it and actually experience this thing that is apparently just so popular. But yeah, Bo.
Hi, I'm Bo. I had similar experience of starting with the 4Kids dub back in 2004 when I was in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
But I was pretty hooked right away. Started reading around my first year of middle school and read consecutively for years and years up until around the first quarter of Wano. And I was like, I don't know how much I'm feeling this. I'll come back to it after this arc ends and then just catch up. And that was 3 years.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to reread the series from the start instead. That's why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the third one.
And the third guy.
I'm the third one.
Who the fuck are you?
I'm the guy with the little treasure map X on his forehead. So, I also watched 4Kids One Piece, and then I stopped for a little while, and then Funimation took over One Piece right before Toonami died, and they were in the sky suddenly, and Sanji sounded like a human man instead of David Moo, and I was like, why does Sanji sound like that? Oh no! And a couple years went by, and I was like, you know what? I want to know how they got in the sky. So I went to Barnes & Noble and would buy a One Piece volume whenever I saw one. And then eventually in college, I read up through all of One Piece, which, God, I guess I must have caught up oh my God, when did I catch up? I think they were going to Zhao. No, I was there at Punk Hazard. That's when I caught up. Not a great time to catch up. So I've been reading One Piece weekly for a while, and I've kind of been waiting for an excuse to read it serially because I suspect it will be so much better as a binge read as opposed to a serial one. So here we are.
Yeah.
Hooray!
And what's your name?
I'm Jello.
Wow.
Never heard of you.
Never heard.
I play games.
Wow, he does
Oh.
play games.
Huh.
Yeah. That's our credentials. I hope that's enough for you, chat. To know who we are, put voices to faces, to G-check us in our One Piece knowledge. But that's fine. Because the first 1 through 100 chapters, East Blue. Good shit.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Yeah.
End stream.
If you can you fucking imagine if you didn't read and you're just here to chill, but
Yeah.
or if you're familiar with One Piece, we read up through the chapter where they're like, here we fucking go to the Grand Line, and they put their feet on the barrel in that iconic shot. That's where chapter 100 ends.
Yeah, and we're gonna be trying to be spoiler friendly to not spoil the future series for people who are reading this with us for the first time. So if you don't know what happens after this, don't worry. We'll probably not spoil the shit. So thumbs up. But yeah.
Yeah.
it's time to start talking. So, do you guys know when One Piece actually got serialized?
Started in 1997.
Yeah.
I always know how
Look,
old it
did you
is
guys-
because it's the same age I am.
Did
Yeah.
you guys like actually do homework before this?
No,
Oh
I
God.
knew that. I knew that ahead of time because
Yeah.
it's my age.
Yeah, it was July 22nd, 1997. It's a year older than me. So, yeah. So One Piece is 24. Insane shit. Right? Can't imagine being older than 24.
I always forget you guys are like the youngest people in my
Wait,
friend.
it's like 26. I'm stupid.
It's
I can't do
20s.
math.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I can't do math,
I literally
bro.
just turned.
Did you guys know One Piece is 79 years old today?
Did you know that One Piece only releases one volume per year, so therefore it's been going on for like 130 years or some shit?
Yeah, Team Chaos, what if we spoil it for you? Legit fucking don't assume there are people who are reading this with us genuinely and do not want to be spoiled, because also Bo and I already know almost everything about One Piece. I know everything about One Piece. Bo is 95% of the way there. Sorry, you haven't read Wano, so you're 30% of the way there. And yeah, just don't. We'll like actually ban you. Don't do that.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah. So just the easiest way to start about this is start from the beginning. So the opening chapters of One Piece were pretty interesting, I guess. Because it starts off with just Luffy's origin of like as a kid, right? I feel like I don't see a lot of mangas like doing that, right? Where it just starts off with he's a kid and this is how he goes on his adventure. Usually it starts with them already on the adventure, right? And then like maybe a few chapters in, he's like, here's my backstory. God gave me a straw hat and got partially eaten by alligator, you know? Like
it's kind of funny you mentioned that, not to go off the book club immediately, but the anime actually doesn't start there.
Yeah, that checks out, right? Because I feel like that is a dangerous move for a manga, because only one chapter comes out, right? And so if the one chapter is just like the story hasn't even started yet, you're risking not capturing the audience as well as you normally would, right? And I feel like in 1997, I don't feel like that was as big of a fear. But I feel like in modern day, you don't see a lot of mangas doing that, right? Unless it's like My Hero Academia, but the start of the journey on My Hero Academia is the entire like hook, right? You couldn't start in the middle, but like I feel like in One Piece, like I guess the anime did, you can start and then explain later. Like
also, Chad, in case it's not clear, Aloha has read more manga than any other human being I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. It's just how it is, man. Like the opening chapter is probably the most important thing because manga is a cutthroat industry, right? Like you need to capture that audience, not only the audience but the people like running the fucking magazine. If they don't think your shit's good enough, you will get axed so fast. Really fucking dangerous. But yeah.
So you like read. Isn't there like a separate pilot Romance Dawn? You read that, right?
So,
I did not read that.
That actually came with the.
It came with a thing. Actually, there are multiple versions of Romance Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read the one in the box set because I read it before I got my box set, right? So in Romance Dawn, it's pretty much the prequel, like pilot of One Piece, right? And my fucking music's buffering, but that's fine. It's this like crazy thing because it's like, imagine it's just like Luffy, but without any of like the stupidity and like personality traits we know. He's just like the most generic guy ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading that, I was like, wow, this is so like boring almost. And it's like, obviously it's a pilot, so he fixed what was the problem. But like so basically it was like one of the versions, the version I read, there was like 4 different versions or something because he reread it over and over again. It was like Luffy, and he was like, I want to become like a peace pirate. And like this was like, I think before the Navy was a thing in his like story. And it was like there was only like peace pirates and there was like bad pirates, which were called Magnolias, I believe. and there was like a female character who was like a fusion of like Zoro and Nami. It was like Nami if she was a swordsman, pretty much.
Silk, I think her name was.
Yeah, some shit like that, you know. And so Peacemain and Morganeers, yeah, so Morganeers, something like that, right? And it was just basically very very simple of like, here's my backstory, and in some versions it's Shanks giving Luffy the hat. In other versions it's Luffy's grandfather that hasn't been named in the main series gave him the hat, right? There's many different versions, but the one I read was the one it was pretty much the Shanks backstory. And then it was like the girl was like, here's my story, and it was just Nami's backstory. And they're like, cool, and it showed like Luffy's like rubber powers. Shanks or whatever.
Thanks.
One thing you're gonna learn, I suck at pronunciation. I'm going to
Yep.
I've heard people call him Shanks. I heard people call him Shanks. I don't fucking know what it is.
I will say you are not the first person I have heard pronounce his name Shanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is Shanks. The
Yeah.
the stonks meme, but it's Shanks.
Shanks, yeah.
The
Like,
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that like Luffy in this beta version is so boring because
mhm,
if you asked me like what some of the biggest selling points of One Piece are,
mhm,
I love Luffy for like
yeah.
for like almost all of the run of the series. Like I think a lot of the Straw Hats fade in and out of focus and there's too many
Yeah.
characters running around, but like I pretty much always like Luffy. There's only like one scene
Yeah.
I can remember that I think is dumb with Luffy. And it's
Mhm,
we'll get to it next time. But
yeah.
he he's the exact right mix of human inciting incident. Like he will cause problems in an interesting way, but
Yeah.
like it's never inconsistent. He's unpredictable, but in a way that always makes sense for his character, which I think is really hard to do well.
Yeah.
And I like that. He's also just like there's so many scenes where it's like, Luffy, what the fuck are you doing? And then like you'll figure out like his thought process for why he did that, and you're like, oh, Luffy's
Mhm,
a good guy. What a dumbass, but he's a good guy.
yeah. It's very like seeing Romance Dawn. I'm glad that Luffy's the way he is, because it's just like, I'm like, damn. It really shows how different Luffy is from like Goku, really, like, and like other like probably shonen protagonists of the time. And it's just like, obviously Goku's also dumb, but not in the enjoyable way and way I love of Luffy, right?
Yeah, I would not call Goku a likable protagonist if I'm being honest. Like in
Yeah.
the totality of Dragon Ball by the end.
Yeah.
But like Luffy, I always like Luffy. He's just
Yeah.
a good he has such a good intro. Like you get to
Mhm.
know Luffy so fast.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Luffy moments is honestly just the first time he's talking to Kobe, and Kobe's like, "Oh, I'm a wet dog, and I'm all sad, and I'd rather die than stand up to Alvita." And Luffy's just like, "Yo, you suck. I think I hate you." It's like
I
I love Luffy immediately.
I love seeing Luffy, and like obviously I've seen like further on, and I seen that scar under his eye, and I was always like, how did he get that? And it's just the first fucking panel. It's just
Yeah,
him playing with a
literally the
fucking
first
knife, and I'm like, God damn it, Luffy, you fucking no deep meaning, no fucking crazy shit. He was just playing with a knife and cut under his eye, and that's like it. I'm like, damn.
I love the establishment of Luffy not being afraid to die is him starting off his journey, coming upon a whirlpool, being like, well,
Time to climb in this
guess this is
barrel.
it.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
it's really interesting to see. Like I mentioned this right before we started. It's going to be really difficult in general
Yeah.
to not expound upon like, oh, it's
Hmm.
interesting to see the seeds of this thing we'll see later on. But this one I think is non-spoilery enough. It's funny to see the first moments of what becomes every character's shorthand traits. So
yeah.
Yeah.
like Zoro's thing in the whole series is he's like constantly lost and can't figure out where he's going. And
Yeah.
it's so fun. I love the start of One Piece because I think the dynamic of the original 5 is honestly the best dynamic the crew ever has. And
Yeah.
they keep it for like that's why I like East Blue and I like Alabasta so much. And I I don't know. It's very funny to see the more reasonable versions of
Yeah.
like, of course Zoro would be lost on this island. It's just a forest. He's never seen it. So it's like a one-off joke of Usopp leading him
Yeah.
around and Nami fucking him over.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this earlier. Like I love the dynamic. I explicitly talked to you about this, Aloha.
Mhm.
Um, but I love the Luffy Zoro Nami dynamic in that
Yeah.
uh it's the way I described it is in my Scooby Doo video. I was like, my ideal Shaggy and Scooby dynamic is the one when Scrappy's around because in that
Mhm.
Scooby's always the dumbass in every situation.
Yeah.
Shaggy can be a dumbass or a voice of reason, whether or not Scrappy's around if he's only paired with Scooby, and Scrappy's always like a straight man. And that's what Nami's and like Zoro is the Shaggy in that situation where like
Yeah.
if it's just him and Luffy's the joke character. But if Nami's also around, then Zoro gets to be hilarious. And I
Yeah.
love that. Like that scene where the little kids run in, it's like, "What'd you do with the captain?" And they don't translate it as well in my version of the manga, but in the anime, he just turns to them and goes, "We ate him."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So funny.
I love it. It's literally just like Luffy, amazing. Fucking Usopp always being a coward. Nami loving money. Zoro being lost, and then Sanji just loving women. It's just like I'm just like yes, this is ideal. This group when they
Mm-hmm.
interact with each other is just perfect in all ways because it's like an Arlong Park where like Usopp is watching the final battle from the other side of a wall through a hole and is just like shouting things across the fucking way to like Luffy. It's like he's like, nah, I'm far away as fucking possible. I'm not dealing with that shit.
It's also such a fun adventuring party dynamic, and you really only get
Mm,
to see all five of them in Arlong Park together
yeah.
because um I love like in the early One Piece, Oda's so good at the balance of here's my excuse for having the characters split up into a new part, like into new
Yeah.
sub parties, so you get their dynamic, and here's where they are, and now like it's like oh you've never seen like you got this like let's just take Usopp. So in
Yeah.
the I think it's Syrup Island is Usopp's arc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God, I love it.
In Usopp's arc, you get him and Luffy, and they're the ones who see Koro, and like it's like that's their dynamic. And then Usopp doesn't really get any moments singularly with the other crew members. He has like a couple small scenes with Nami where they're just also anytime Nami and Usopp get to fight, it's the most interesting because they have 1 HP and no skills, and
Yeah.
it's so fun to watch them try and survive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then like so then you get later on there's a couple exchanges between Usopp and Sanji who like don't know each other and don't respect each other and they're just being like what the fuck are you doing? And
Yeah.
then you get like the one really strong scene between Usopp and Nami where she stabs her own hand to
Mm-hmm.
make it
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know it's really fun to me the fun of a medium large cast is
Mm-hmm.
seeing the characters bounce off of each other like pinballs
Yeah.
in a big machine and enjoying the different ways they bounce off each other.
Yeah.
And I think later on the series loses that. So going back to this and being like I'm reveling in it again.
I love right now where it's just like the party just splits up and it's like, oh yeah, Nami and Arlong Park, like we saw, it's just like, yeah, it's like I'm part of the villain team, not really though, but it's just like everyone's like, I hate Nami, and Luffy's like, no, Nami's chill. Nami will never betray us ever. And it's just like seeing everyone like kind of argue and also be on different viewpoints, but then later like join up for like a singular cause. I feel like is just very, very
Yeah.
interesting. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
The Arlong Park arc is from a writing standpoint like easily the strongest
yeah.
part of East Blue and I remember during the pandemic, a lot of people were like, "Oh, maybe I should start One Piece," and they'd watch a
Mhm.
couple episodes. I'm like, generally, I think if you're not into it in like the first five, you should probably drop it. It's probably not for you. But like,
Yeah.
if you're reading it and it's not that much of a time investment, I would recommend going up until Arlong Park because I think that's where One Piece starts to be like, here's
Yeah.
what One Piece is actually like when it's good because it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
like that's the thing it likes to do is it's like you set up this like unreasonably tragic setup with this like comically awful villain. Everyone gets there. You learn
Yeah.
about my I think Oda's biggest skill as a writer is whenever you get to a new area, I'm always so interested in learning the gimmick of the new
Yeah.
setting and the dynamic, and that's one of the only things that never goes away. Like I always love the start of every arc, even if I don't like the rest of the arc.
Yeah.
And even when it's
Mhm.
like comparatively the series gets so crazy location wise, but like even here where it's just like what's going on with the Fishman Island? And like, oh, here's a town where all the buildings are upside down. Like that's a really
Yeah.
cool, fucked up
He
visual.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's really good at setting up a good foundation. Though sometimes I feel like building on that kind of falls apart. Um
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I feel
And I
like
like just seeing characters interact with these fucked up spaces.
yeah, and speaking of these fucked up spaces, I feel like what we could do is just kind of like step by step go through like the like mini arcs in this giant arc and just kind of be like,
Sure.
yeah, this is good because I really want to talk about Syrup Island because I fucking love it. But like, so it starts with Kobe's Island with the axe hand guy that I cannot remember the name of because
Morgan.
Morgan, yeah. And it's just like it's a good introduction to Luffy and also like Zoro, who spends 90% of East Blue injured, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say with the 2 HP thing, I loved looking back on it and seeing how much Zoro kind of also sucks at the
it's
beginning.
it's funny because like Zoro always gets nerfed at the start of fight. That's another thing I think Oda is really good at, actually, especially in the early game, is
Mhm.
because you'll see this with a lot of shonen. At least that I guess I can't say a lot of shonen because I've only read like 6 compared to like Aloha. But
Yeah.
I think oftentimes, especially near the start, the main characters will waltz in and just be stronger than everyone, and it's a question of like why haven't they beaten the bad guy yet? So
Mhm.
Mhm.
like for East Blue, Luffy's just stronger than every antagonist. He just can beat all of them right
Yeah.
away. Like it becomes these mini game fights. So like with Arlong, it's how do they res Luffy from the water, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
It's hilarious.
Even
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I was totally going somewhere with this.
Syrup Island, he gets fucking hypnotized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the Oda's just really, and like with Buggy, he's like in the cage for a
Mhm.
little while, so he can't
Yeah.
fight Buggy right away. And like Luffy kicks Buggy's ass with like almost no issue. And like Zoro could probably beat everyone on Buggy's thing in a one-on-one, but he keeps getting fucked over
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yeah, and then the one time he's like kind of perfectly fine, he fights Mihawk and gets his fucking ass served. Yeah. Uh but it's just like yeah, it's like Zoro being like fucking like tied up to that pole at the beginning of that the like marine Kobe Island arc. I can't remember the fucking name, but it doesn't matter because you know what I'm talking about. It's just seeing Luffy kind of in that vacuum, I guess, is something you don't normally see, I guess, for like a little bit in like shonen stuff. It feels like a party comes together way faster than they do in One Piece and like other shit, right? And so it's just like
Yeah.
seeing Luffy, like even though it's not really that slow, just slowly build up his pirate crew, right? And
Mhm.
starting with Zoro, who's just this guy who's like, yeah, kick ass, and we're both kind of dumb, but like you know. And then it's like, what are we missing? It's just like, oh, we're missing someone who's smart, and then getting Nami, and then it's just like, oh, what are we missing? You, Usopp, we don't need you, but come on.
it's
We
it's
need a
great.
ship. You come with the ship.
It's
Yeah.
great. I mean, but be nice to Usopp.
I know. I know.
In terms of like being an actual crew, Usopp and Nami pull like 30 times the weight
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
the others.
absolutely.
Um, so like I really enjoy Zoro has such a good introduction because it's like I'm a scary guy, but then
Yeah.
immediately you get like the little girl and
Hmm.
Zoro's entire thing, and frankly, in the long run, I don't think it works. But Zoro's entire thing is a bonkers, unshakable amount of willpower. Like that's what Mihawk says. He's like, oh my goodness, such resolve to be killed here and now. Very interesting. That's what intrigues me about you, not
But
your skill
but
level.
like Luffy also has that.
Yes, they
Yeah.
both have that, and that's like actually kind of important in the long run. Like
Yeah.
that unshakable will is kind of their thing. I I also like, this is a good thing to, this is something I wanted to talk about, but I want to like propose it now before we start going through each of the arcs, because there's this great, hang on, I grabbed this as a quote. You mentioned, Aloha, that you started like doing bookmarks, and I was like, I should do the same. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds.
I remember seeing
There's
the
this
chat in your
great
server, yeah.
Oda quote that I was like, I never thought of this, and it explains a lot of his writing, especially in East Blue. So let me grab that. If you guys want to talk about some other shit while I find it.
Yeah. No, all I'm remembering is like on that island where you find Zoro and Kobe and stuff. Is that like the famous like censorship where it's not like a gun or anything? They fix
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
a fucking
Gun thing.
bike mirror to Kobe's head. Yeah, it's just great. But like to expand upon what you said earlier of like you've only read like 6 shonen, so it feels like a lot of shonen has like strong protagonists at the start. That is, I feel like that's quality of older shonen, right? Is the strong, overpowered like main character, right? In more modern shonen like Boku no Hero Academia and stuff, I feel like there is a lot of weaker protagonists starting off because it's just like it's about that climb to greatness rather than like, you know,
that makes sense.
Yeah. There's also a quality of more recent shonen where after years and years, and One Piece is super into this, where it's just like grit and anger and force of will are all you need. Like now there's kind of this, I see it as like a the pendulum swinging the other way response to that of like here My Hero Academia does this all the time where it's like, hey, if you injure your body, this will affect you the rest of your life, and there are permanent consequences actually, which I prefer personally. So okay, this is the important thing, and this is the only one I pinned. I was like, this is a conversation piece. Question: Why? And for people who didn't read or just chilling, at the end of volumes, Oda does like little Q&As. Why doesn't Luffy ever kill his enemies? I reread all the manga, and he doesn't kill Moji, and he didn't kill Hilmeppo or Captain Morgan, although Morgan was beaten by Zoro. Why is that? And Oda says, good question. First of all, Captain Morgan's still alive, blah, 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 blah. The reason Luffy doesn't kill is this. In his era, men live by their beliefs and risk their lives to defend them. Luffy shatters the beliefs of his enemies by defeating them. For them to suffer defeat and to have their beliefs destroyed is as bad as death. Killing their bodies is beside the point. I feel that as pirates, Luffy and his enemies care more about victory and defeat than they care about their lives. Which I think is interesting. So I started reading East Blue through a lens of, what is this villain's philosophy and how is it counter to Luffy? So Morgan is just rank. It's just I'm Captain Morgan. I'm better than all of you, so you can all die. And Luffy's just like, that's stupid. And Kuro's is my favorite from that lens, and I'll get to him a little later. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up now because I think it's interesting to be like, what is the ideological fight going on in this arc?
That's like actually really interesting. Like now that I'm thinking about it, it's just like that's I think that's actually really cool.
Because Buggy's thing, if we want to, I don't know if you guys.
Let's move on to the next one because like that arc doesn't really have much to talk about other than like Zoro eating the cupcake and being like, like he's scary.
Cupcake?
What if it's a rice ball? What are you, 4 kids?
Dude, like, man, I don't remember what the fuck he ate.
Zoro eating that pineapple the little girl gets.
Dude, dude, I all I remember
Can
he
you
ate
believe
something.
that little girl gave him a devil fruit? Really fucking weird.
Can you imagine? Yeah, it's a shame he ate the 3-sword fruit, but like he was already pretty good with 3 swords, so it doesn't really come out.
Jellyfilled donut, man, but it's just like, other than like showing like Zoro's like resolve and just like his motivations, and which is like he just wants to be the best swordsman. He doesn't care about like hunting pirates really. It's just like he's willing to like compromise his like pirates are evil to like join Luffy because he's like, well, maybe not all pirates are bad. Like maybe this guy's a little quirky.
I find the do you want to refresh your music?
I like it's this thing of like it's been buffering, and no matter how many times I refresh it, it's not been working. So I refresh it again, so maybe it'll fucking actually work. But like,
fingers crossed. I think the Morgan arc, it's like just short enough that I don't find it boring because he's such a stupid villain. But like it's fine.
Yeah.
And then with Buggy, who I love Buggy throughout the whole series. Buggy is such a fun character, but
Yeah.
Buggy's thing, his opposition to Luffy, at least in my reading, is Buggy does not understand the concept of emotional treasure.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
hat, and Buggy's just like, treasure is jewels and shit, and I want money, which is a very good thing for a pirate to have, but like...
Yeah, he's like the quintessential pirate, right? Like,
Yeah. And throughout the whole series, Luffy will often decide what he does in an arc based on what he sees as somebody he likes, and what that person he allies with
mhm.
is really invested in, and he'll just be like, I want to defend that. Like, he does that almost every storyline. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like, you know, there's like, we'll get to it, but like in Arlong, the real thing he beats, like essentially the final punch of the Arlong fight is him destroying Nami's prison. Like
Yeah.
him beating
Yeah.
Arlong doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. Like, and it's really interesting starting off with Morgan and then Buggy, because those are like two forces in the world, like Marines and then pirates, where it's just like he destroys what the base generic like ideal of a like military person and a pirate is, which is, I'm in this for the rank and respect, and then there's like on the other hand like the treasures and stuff. And so starting off with those two basically like encompasses like a good portion of what certain characters would have in this like kind of setting, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which I think is like a really good starting point.
Yeah, it's great because I would say if I had to put the theme of all of One Piece into one word, I'd call it freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I had to put the theme of One Piece into many words, it would be fighting against a corrupt power to ensure freedom.
Yeah, right. And so like the Buggy arc, like the personal treasure part is just so, I love that. Like the pet store, where it's like the dog is in front of the pet store and like it's burning and stuff. I'm like, damn, dude. Like, it's so fucking. It just means so much. Where it's just like they say it at the beginning, where it's just like, yeah, this hat is my treasure, and it just stays strong throughout the entire like East Blue, right? Where it means so much to him, and especially when he like places the hat on Nami's head, right? And it's just like remembering those words. It's like, yeah,
that's the best page in all of East Blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like just so fucking. Let me turn that. It's too
And
fucking
the
charming.
and like, yeah, no, Orange, it's not subtle about that. Like the mayor's
Yeah.
like, this town is my treasure, and Luffy's like, you blew up the town, I'm gonna fucking kill you, Buggy. You blew up the pet shop. Like, that's always what Luffy's motivation is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
other people's like ideal. Like he finds an ideal to defend and then an ideal to destroy. You know, it's like
Pretty much.
I like it.
For what it's worth, I will say, like, there's nothing wrong written wise with the pet shop. I do fucking hate that dog though.
The dog's kind of uggy.
Yeah, dog looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
Dog uggy, and also like you spend a lot more time with the dog in the anime.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, just because it's an anime. And I remember watching it on my own and not liking the dog, even in the 4Kids version, watching it on my own and not liking the dog the first time I watched the Funimation version.
Yeah.
And like, again, I don't like dogs. And then I watched it with Aram when he was trying to watch the show, because he also voices in One Piece now. He's page 1 in Wano. And it's me and Aram, so obviously we're on team dog hater.
Oh yeah.
So we show up and Shushu's there, and I'm like, ugh, Shushu, and like, he's fine. I just don't like dogs.
You remember the dog's name?
Yeah.
I was also bookmarking pages in my book, and one of them that I bookmarked was just when it was establishing why Zoro was tied up to a pole, and it was like, yeah, Helmeppo was walking around and letting his dogs run rampant on the streets, and they were attacking people, and I just bookmarked that. It's like, yep.
A dog hater.
Zoro just murks a dog.
That reminds me, I forgot about the Zoro thing, where Zoro was like, yeah, he said if I live like a week, he'll like let me go.
It was a month.
It was a month, yeah. He was just like, yeah, if I live here a month, you'll just let me free, so I'm just gonna do it. And Luffy's like, I don't think he's gonna like hold up on that. And he's like, what? Huh? It's just like, no, what? People can lie? That's fucked up.
People go
Zoro's
on
not
the
smart.
internet and lie?
The I also think in the early game, Oda's really good at finding excuses for the whole party to not be around, and it's just like
Yeah.
East Blue overall has such a good sliding focus of characters. So like in the Morgan arc, it's obviously you've got everyone because it's just Luffy, Zoro,
Yeah.
Kobe, and then in Orange Island or yeah, that's
Orange
Pokemon,
Town
but
or
Orange
whatever,
Town, in Orange Town, Zoro's not there. Like for all intents and like he's got to
Yeah.
fight because it's a shonen, but like he's not there. He's unconscious or gone for most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in like Syrup Village, they keep finding excuses to split up the party, and like they're all there for the fight, but it's just about Usopp and Luffy.
Yeah.
And then in Sanji's arc, Nami literally fucks off
and
entirely,
steals the
and then
boat. Yeah.
and Usopp, who just got a full arc of focus, is like, I'll go after her. It's like, that's really good character weight, Oda. We just got a lot of Usopp. We don't need him right now. Also, I love Usopp.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for him to leave because she stole his fucking ship.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
dude.
And
Yeah.
I just like that. And it's so funny because like so many things I think One Piece is awful about later on. It does so well at the start, and I'm like, was Oda just better at this, or were his editors more on his ass? And I think it's a combination of both, but mostly the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we get to probably my favorite part of East Blue. I love the Syrup Island arc so much. Usopp's introduction arc is so fucking good, in my opinion.
You know what's
Like-
funny is I know a lot of people who don't like it, and I think that's because they watch the anime. And I'll give them this because this whole season is like, I don't know, 26 or 50 something episodes. I don't remember.
Yeah.
They milk that like there's like
Yeah.
straight up 2 more episodes than there need to be, but like in the manga I think it's maybe also my favorite actually, even though I think the emotional high is the best in Arlong.
Yeah.
Overall I think Syrup, I really like the villains.
Like it's this thing of like looking at Syrup Island and looking at Usopp's story, where it's just like if you just started a manga like Usopp's story, right, in like Syrup Island, that would be a strong start to a manga. Just like the guy who's just like telling lies about being a pirate, or like, you know, in his pirate tales and stuff, and everyone knows it's lies, and he's just like saying it, and just like the like average boy who cries wolf kind of tale. But it's just like, it's not like, you know, it's just like, oh, no one believed me, now everyone's getting their ass eaten. It's like, no, it's fucking, it's like, they don't believe me, that's fine. I'm not gonna tell them they're coming because I don't want to ruin their peace. And I'm like, that's like hype shit. I love it. Just like,
Yeah, it's Usopp has so many good small moments where he's like, I'm not gonna ruin the villagers' peace like that. Even if I fail, I'd rather give them one last nice morning.
Yeah.
And then the little kids, he's like, I'm not bringing these like 6-year-olds to this life or death battle.
Yeah.
So he lies to them, and it's so funny because like one thing you'll see about Luffy in the whole series is he's such a good judge of character, actually.
Yeah.
So
He really is.
He'll just meet someone and be like, this guy's cool. Like he just meets Usopp and he's like, yeah, no, this guy's all right. Like you can just tell.
It's just like Usopp and that girl, and he's like this sick dying girl, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna tell her like my little stories, and she's like, yeah, this is like the best part of my day. It's just
Kaya.
It's just like he's such a kind guy, even though he's a coward. It's just like when chips are on the table, like Usopp is always like down to do what's needed, even though he's pissing and shitting and crying the entire time. It's like,
Yeah.
Usopp, I think, is the best Straw Hat from minute one, and I don't think he ever loses that slot, to be honest. I in fact I think he becomes the king of that slot for a long time. But the Soge king, if you will. The I love the setup of the Syrup Island arc because it's so unlike every other villain in the whole series, because like all the other things, there's such grand wants that the villains have. Like even if you just look at East Blue, it's like, I'm in charge of this fucking island. Everyone loves me as the marine guy. Buggy literally wants to get all the treasure in the world. Don Krieg wants to invade the Grand Line. Arlog is starting up a fucking empire. And Kuro is just like, I
I
love
want
his
to
motive.
fucking retire.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like being a pirate. Everyone I worked with is an incompetent idiot. I'm tired of my good ideas benefiting them.
Yeah.
I just want to live in peace and be rich. And it's like, you know what? I respect you for that.
Yeah, it's like literally I don't even really think he needed to like hypnotize the girl to put him in like her will. The girl was kind enough. I think she would have just done it naturally. You know?
Yeah,
Like I
for
feel like she
real.
would have just been like, "Oh, you've taken care of me all this time." And it's just like that's the real hustle. Being
That's
a nice and
kind
honest
of-
person.
That's kind of his ultimate failing, though, which I
Yeah,
love.
yeah,
Because,
it's
like,
Yeah,
great.
he just got impatient.
he's like, my plans never fail. And then even like the night before, he just tries and somehow doesn't kill Mary, the sheep
Mhm.
guy, who's voiced by Jerry Jewell.
Yeah.
And like that's how Kaya finds out about everything. And like
Mhm.
there was no reason for him to do that. And it's funny because he's always like, everyone else is ruining my plans. It's like, you're ruining your plan.
You got
you
impatient,
stupid
man.
moron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's so fucking like oh god. I don't know why they were cat themed. Fucking you know what's weird? Like one thing I realized, this is off topic of what we were like discussing and like the flow of things. Buggy's a clown.
Buggy is a clown.
He didn't eat the clown fruit.
No,
No, he's just a clown.
He's just
he
a clown.
has- his thing is he's got that nose that makes him look like a clown. So I guess he was like, time to make this my whole identity. But then he also hates it when people bring up his nose.
Yeah.
Is he like a clown man? Like there's Fishman. Is he just a clown
Nope.
guy?
Buggy's just
No,
a normal
he just
dude.
looks like that.
Also,
We
I will
find
say
so many more cases of that.
Buggy is legitimately one of my favorite characters in the
dude,
entire series.
Buggy's origin being that he was trying to steal the fruit, hid it in his mouth, and Shanks was like, "Hey, guy," and then he's like, "Oh no," it swallowed it, and then it's just like, "Well, I'm fucked forever, I guess."
Yeah, it's really funny. I don't know. I love how short-sighted Buggy is overall, where he's like, "Oh, I might be able to get this treasure and sell this fruit," and it's like, bro, that's a really good devil fruit. pal.
You're literally kind of busted, not gonna lie, homie. Like,
But he sucks, so it's really
I
funny.
like
it's my
I
favorite.
like that at least initially, like the way they introduced him getting his power, he's the only character I can think of who seems to not like having a devil fruit power.
I can only imagine, like, because we see him in like the little like sections in front of the chapters where it's like, oh, it's not Usopp, Buggy's like little mini adventure. He's just like lost his body because it was separated for like a long time, and it's just like imagine that, but it's just like you never find it. The real One Piece is Buggy's
Yikes.
legs or something, you know? It's like it doesn't matter. He can fly anyways, but like you know, it's just a fucking.
From a like it's been said a million times that Luffy's power is just so good for the medium it's in.
Yeah.
And it is. And it really is. Like everyone who's ever
It's
talked
so
about One
dynamic,
Piece has
yeah,
said that.
like-
And there's so many cool ways like that. Like I love all his different abilities and the different things he comes up with. It's very fun. And I think the fight between Luffy and Buggy is like, in terms of this is a manga and I'm looking at it drawn.
Yeah.
One of my favorite fights I've ever seen visually. Like it's just so fun. Guy who stretches a lot and swings and guy who pops apart to dodge it is like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, there's also all of the best fights in One Piece are silly and they feel like, how do I say this in a way that's not just talking about me? Whenever I'm writing a fight, it's very much a like characters write their own fights. So you're like, I think I know who wants to win and I know what powers are here. Okay, so if this character does this, how would this other character react?
Yeah.
Okay, and that creates very interesting naturalistic fights. And I think when One Piece is doing a good job, especially in Luffy fights, it happens a lot because Luffy's written that way. They're very interesting. And then One Piece boring fights are just who's got the stronger spirit or whatever. It's like, shut up. I don't care at all.
Yeah, it's the crux of a character like Zoro, right? Where I feel like there could be very interesting fights with Zoro, but it's just like if you're Oda as a writer and you put Luffy and Zoro next to each other, who are you gonna have more fun writing for fight-wise? It's obviously gonna be Luffy, because it's just like Luffy one is silly mid-fight always, right? But also he has this silly little stretch power, right? Like you can see it in Arlong Park where it's just like Luffy fucking takes fucking Arlong's teeth and then like starts using it and then like put it in his mouth and stuff. You could never see Zoro do that, right? Like, and it's just like even like Zoro next to Usopp. It's like Usopp's a coward and shits and pisses and is a little trickster guy, right? Where he uses like rubber bands, 10-ton hammers, all this other stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm not even joking. Usopp has the best written fights in the entire series.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like Luffy and Usopp as like fights in a manga are easily way more dynamic than Zoro can ever be. And that's like the saddest part, right? Where it's just like, why even try making Zoro's fights interesting when you have to try 100 times harder to do that, when you could just have silly, wacky, stretchy, arm-waving, inflatable tube-man Luffy just do something easy.
You can get fun gimmicks that you can't get with Zoro.
Yeah.
It's very strange because, like, later on, almost every major arc has, I think they're colloquially called the big three: Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, who are like the big melee fighters. Each get a fight, and they always get the number 1 guy, the number 2 guy, and the number 3 guy in that order. And like Sanji and Zoro consistently have the most boring fights because it's always just, I'm fighting a big guy, I'm fighting a strong guy. Can I outstrong them? I can. And that's not fun to watch when you've got like Luffy and Usopp, and even Nami gets some really cool fights later. And like, I gotta say, I did not remember how often Nami entered combat in East Blue to some degree.
Yeah,
she's fun to watch because she's basically a civilian with some tricks up her sleeve, and like, that's more interesting. I genuinely feel that like, I'm not interested in watching like an I'm stronger than you, no, I'm stronger than you fight where I know there's no chance of a main character losing. But with like, especially in early East Blue, if it's like multiple crew members versus multiple crew members, like Nami and Usopp versus the Cat Pirates, like the goal isn't to beat them, it's to stall them. And in doing that, they could like lose a limb or something. Like genuinely at that point in the manga, before you know exactly like what the stakes are in terms of how much damage a character can take, that could happen. And like, God, like Usopp takes a really bad hit to the back of his head in that fight. That's really visceral. Later on in Alabasta, Nami gets a really nasty wound in a fight, and it's like, oh my God, like, and it feels bad because when those characters take a wound, you feel it because they're humans.
But Luffy's made of rubber.
And that's, how did that happen?
How did that happen?
And like, it's fine to like have the other characters be tougher, but at the same time, like Sanji and Zoro can literally take like cartoonish amounts of damage and essentially get out with no permanent wound
it's like
whatsoever.
I always remember the fucking, I hate the Pearl fight, but I always remember the part where Pearl like slams two discs into Sanji's head, and it's such a visceral image, and he's just fine.
Like,
he's just fine.
Sanji gets hit, and he's always like, huh, your hits are nothing compared to my old man's who beat me up all the time. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, that's fair, but also kind of lame.
Yeah, I literally screen capped that and was like, this is one of the most visceral panels in the entire manga, and I hate it. I hate it so much. And like, I can't wait to dunk on Baratier because I hate that arc. But what else do I want to say? I like, again, I love Kuro as a villain. I think his just ability, I love the way he's drawn. Like, his like weird teleporting thing and how he just like teleports behind people and like stares at them like, you fucked up now. Like, I think he's scary and fun, and I like how much he outclasses the rest of his pirate crew, because I enjoy that he's like wrong and an idiot in terms of like, no, everyone messes up my plans, but at the same time he's right and they were messing up his plans, and he's like, obviously I was going to kill all of you guys. Obviously I was going to do that. And it's like, yeah, man, do it.
Like, someone in chat said, how do you balance that though? Well, like, so it's this thing, just like, Sanji and Zoro fights being like strong guy, take a bunch of hits and stuff. Like, I feel like going at it from a strength angle is the wrong point you should be taking from Sanji and Zoro. Because the things they do, which is swordsmanship and also cooking, isn't a strength-based thing, it's skill, right? And at that point, it's just like they win not because they're more skillful, but because they just hit the other guy harder and took more hits, right? And that's the issue. I feel like a Sanji fight, Sanji shouldn't be getting hit as much. He should be dodging. He should be like running. He should be doing like all these various different things to make the fight more dynamic, right? Instead of just like standing at each other, I kick, you punch me, right? And just like, you know, it should be a little bit more movement because he is leg guy.
Here's the rule for making interesting fights, and this goes for everything. Like if you're a GM making TTRPGs, you want a mini game. That's what you always want to do. You never want it to just be who's stronger, whose numbers are
There's
bigger.
got to be a win condition.
So Sanji's fight against Pearl is terrible. It's the worst fight in the entire East Blue. Sanji's fight against the Fishman guy is a little better because the minigame isn't beat the Fishman guy. It's free Luffy.
Yeah.
So if Sanji had to like do things or dodge or like, I need to accomplish a goal that's not just beating someone, that makes it more interesting during a fight happening. And like, that's something they could do with Zoro too. Like, it's not just, you need to be a better swordsman than this guy. It's like, even, this is a lame example, but if you want one that's in this part of the story, him fighting the stupid acrobat guy, but he's got a big injury and the acrobat guy keeps hitting it. Like, yeah, that's more than nothing. And that's a more interesting fight than most of Zoro's like fights in the latter half of the series.
Yeah.
And there's so many fights where Zoro's just like, I beat you because I'm more intense. And that's not fun to watch because that's not something like that's told and not shown. Whereas like maybe I'm not gonna spoil it, but like one of my favorite fights in the whole series actually it's in the Baroque Works arc, which is what we're gonna be reading in the next setting. I love Baroque Works so much. And there's a setup where it's like Usopp and Luffy with really weird debuffs on them, and Nami and Zoro are like on a ticking clock and will die if they don't win the fight fast enough. And like Luffy could beat this guy, but he keeps getting status ailmented, so it's up to Usopp to find a way to kill the status ailments. And it's like, that's a fun fight because there's stakes, there's a time limit. It's not just who's stronger. It's interesting. So like if I were doing a Zoro fight, I don't know, you might do something like Zoro needs to cut a bunch of things, but like, I don't know, maybe they're like falling or they're on ship rigging or something. Like it's so often it's just like, my sword cuts more than your sword does. And it's like, whatever, bro.
Same person chat. No, I meant, how do you balance antagonists by being threatening by injuring the heroes, but also spreading disbelief that they can't possibly survive all of it? I have them
injure them less.
Yeah, and hit them less. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Sanji should dodge more. Because like by the fifth time
if you
that
keep
Pearl hits
injuring them and nothing happens, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about Sanji. It should be a battle of skill rather than endurance, right? Where it's just like, yeah, Sanji can keep dodging, but the one time he gets hit, it should actually have an impact on how he does things, right? Rather than like, I just get back up when,
No, you're super right. And like, knowing Sanji's later like abilities and powers and even his theming he gets later on when like they give him more spiciness, him dodging should really be his entire gimmick, shouldn't it?
Yeah, because it's literally this thing of like, he's a chef, and like that's a very skilled based thing. It's just like, it's like all these kicks and stuff. It's just like he should be like, if like Luffy has wacky inflatable arm waving tube man powers and Zoro is strength, like I guess like Sanji should be Dex equivalent, right? Instead of just more strength, right? And that's how you could probably bring him like, more like dynamic fighting, because it's just like because running away in a fight isn't like bad, it's smart, right? It's just like bringing them to a different location, moving them around, moving around makes it more dynamic, all this interesting stuff. Like it's just, I don't know, more of that, less of Sanji being another guy like Zoro who like fights the guy head on and just like all this other stuff, right? Because Sanji is a scumbag. Literally, like Zoro has some sense of honor. I don't think Sanji has that sense of honor unless there's a woman behind him. But even that, then that would make it interesting. Where it's just like, no, I can't look lame in front of this girl. I gotta get my ass beat.
Sanji has a sense of honor in a way I despise, which is he's like, I'm not gonna hit a lady. I'm like, bro, get over yourself. Fuck
I
off.
die. But yeah, fucking where were we? We were on like Syrup Island. And I
Yeah,
guess
no,
after
we-
Syrup Island, yeah, we got so
Brat-
distracted.
Fucking Baratier. We're already talking about Sanji.
Yeah.
The Baratier arc is so fucking awful, and you should read the Mihawk arc and skip the rest of it.
Yeah, like it's like this thing of like it drags on so long that in the middle they have the Mihawk thing and then go straight back to it, and you're like, oh yeah, we're here, right? Like it's like it's this thing of like I really like it in concept. I really like it. I think it just lasts like way longer than it needs to. Like, you know, it's just like it could have ended with just like one pirate showing up, causing problems, and then it being solved instead of like an entire like fleet and some like asshole fucking like what is
And
his
he
name?
just
Don
won't
Krieg?
go down.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
my god, Don Krieg will not. Okay. This was ages ago, but with ProZD and some of his friends, we read One Piece's manga aloud on stream. We didn't show it, but we just read it and had
Yeah.
like essentially visual descriptors. And I played both Kuro on one stream, and they were like, "This arc sucks," going into it, and they came out and they're like, "It was a little better than I remembered." It was like, "It's fine." And then Baratier we did, and I was Don Krieg. I was dying by the end of that stream.
Yeah.
That dude never dies, and he has no power. He brings nothing to the table.
He has
Like,
armor.
In terms of motivations, like I like the idea behind so many of the early ones. Kuro just wants to fucking retire. Buggy is just interested in treasure in general. Krieg is just a captain on a power trip. Don Krieg's whole thing is he's like, I'm the strongest pirate in the world, after he literally got his ass kicked by one guy
Don
that
Krieg.
he just ignores.
Don Krieg is on like a new level of copium. Like he's just like
Yeah, he is.
He's got the cope.
rude. The guy is just like trying so hard. He's just like, I didn't lose. I didn't get my ass beat. I didn't lose.
Don
That was a
Krieg
freak-
sucks.
That was
so
an
bad.
outlier. Mihawk just wasn't like the rest of the Grand Line. I promise I can take the rest of the Grand Line on.
What you mean? He's one of the 7 warlords of the sea? I'm sure there's no other ones. I think that's just a name to scare us. The fucking Don. So here's the thing. Going by that Oda's own description of like Luffy defeating the enemy pirates, like, and their philosophy as opposed to killing them, I'm down for that. And like for Kuro, like I love how much Luffy's just like, not even worth my fucking time. Where it's like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lose to a guy who's like, pirating sucks and I want to give up and not do it. You don't get it at all, man. Die. That's so fun. And with Krieg, it's so strange because he's like, it's all about military might and what I have. So it's like, okay, is it about having the most men and the most crew members and the most like weapons? Like that's something. Like it's kind of stupid, but like I can understand,
Yeah.
especially if you're juxtaposing it against Luffy, because everyone's making fun of how he's got like 4 guys and he wants to tackle the Grand Line. But then they also do this stupid, very Japanese, it's about grit thing, and it's like, this is objectively boring because it's just like, it's about someone who tries really hard and keeps going, and like they could have tied that into Sanji not dying after starving on a rock for like 80 days, but they didn't do that. Like it's just like Luffy's got more spunk than this guy. It's like Luffy's got more everything than this guy. Don Krieg has literally nothing. Like
no bitches, no money, no food.
And also, can I just I don't believe Don Krieg would be in charge. I think one of his crew members would have taken a gun to the back of his head and shot him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of basically what happened, where it's just like the second in command was like, you know what, I think Don Krieg's kind of weak. I'm gonna go back to the Grand Line and not appear again in the series ever.
Gene could have been
Gene
interesting.
is fine. Yeah.
He could have been interesting. I
Yeah.
don't think they did him right. He is the most wasted potential of the 3 Krieg pirates they fight. I'll give him
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
much.
I like his weapon design a whole lot every
Yeah.
time I see it.
It's like the
think it's
tonfos
cool
with the
looking.
ball at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned that I started taking notes, and
Yeah.
you guys started commenting on my notes because I did it in a public spot like an idiot.
Yes.
And
I stopped
I was
looking
like,
at a certain point, but yeah.
that's a good
Same.
idea. I was like, I'm gonna start keeping track of what I'm gonna call the character Oda should have objectively not had in the series count.
Yeah.
And Pearl is hardcore the first member. Oh,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
I just remembered something really quick. You know what was actually a really good fight is Django versus the little three kids.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
honestly great.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is.
Because the gimmick there is that, again, it's a mini game. It's keep Kaya alive. They do a really good job. It's believable. The stakes are high because he could super kill these kids.
Yeah.
I love that the kids negotiate him down to not killing them, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And then Usopp gets to beat him. So Usopp gets to kill the second in command, which never happens again.
Yeah. God. But yeah, you were talking about the nobody people who should not be in One Piece count.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and Pearl
Yeah.
Pearl is one of the worst. It's so funny because like one of the dudes who was on that Prozidi call, Steve Yurko, who's like the biggest One Piece fan I've ever seen. He's like a Pearl stan. Like he loves Pearl, and I was like, why? Like,
That is the first time I've ever heard of anyone.
He's super into Sanji and he's super into Pearl, and I was like, you need to explain to me why you like Pearl.
Is insane because it's like, yes, I have such great defense, and then it gets like cracked in like a second. And you know what his response to that is? It's like he's Pearl. He has all these pearls. You think his abilities would be Pearl fame? You know what he does? Sets himself on fire.
And I love they even write a thing where the crew members are like, no, Pearl's gonna use his thing, which they should know that he has this defense if he's never actually been wounded before, but whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, Pearl spent all his time in the jungle that he's from, and now he's gonna use his jungle defense, lights himself on fire, and it's like, what? Oda, jungle backstory, Pearl guy, and fire are all completely separate thematic ideas.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with anything?
This is no longer a One Piece book club. This is a Pearl hating club.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been
Pearl.
waiting to dunk on Pearl for weeks. I
Yeah.
hate this character.
Like the Steven Universe character?
No, Pearl's the best character, and he's the most interesting character in Steven
God.
Universe.
And God, yeah. So it's just like it's all that stuff. I really love the head chef, the red leg.
Zeph's good.
I love Zeph and how it's just like Sanji's whole character motivations and everything about him is so well highlighted. I love it so much. Where it's just like
Yeah.
he gives food to everyone, and it's just like why? And then Zeph is like, you don't know what it's like to starve like he does. And then like showing like them stranded on that island where Zeph had to eat his own fucking leg. It like it was just like I love that so fucking much. Like,
Mhm.
and it's just like this thing of like seeing Sanji light up when he talks about the all blue. Is just like I'm just like I love this guy. Like it's just like I really think this is like because it's like I love Sanji's introduction. I loved Usopp's introduction. You know, it's just like because it's just like these guys are very passionate about what they like, and it's just like Sanji wants to go, Usopp wants to go on an adventure. Sanji's like talks about the all blue, and Luffy's like, "You're talking about my special interest, boy. I'm going to listen intently while you're talking about the all blue because that's the latest shit ever, right?"
Mhm.
In isolation here, I love Sanji's backstory and his motivation. I will say I'm not convinced Oda has completely forgotten about the all blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's this thing of like I really love it. It's just sadly that arc is dragged down by the fact that Don Krieg and his men are just kind of like.
I would cut Pearl entirely, and I think it should have just been a fight between Jin, Gin, whatever his name is, and Sanji, because they've got such an interesting dynamic of like, I'm so sorry, but like loyalty to your captain, even though like the captain's objectively in the wrong after this guy saved your life.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
that's interesting, and also like. I don't know. Like he's got a cool weapon. Meanwhile, Pearl's over here like I'm Pearl and wasting
multiple
everyone's time.
shields. Yeah. So,
And-
how would you fix this like mini arc?
Remove Pearl entirely. Krieg
Have Krieg stay down.
Krieg and Gin don't matter, and I think Sanji and Gin should have like fought each other for a little bit. Don should have been like, he should have done that thing where it's like, oh, we've got Zeph and we're gonna kill him, so Sanji can't fight. But then at some point, Gin just of his own volition just takes out Krieg and just brains him, and that's it.
This is
and
me
he's like,
yeah, go on.
go ahead.
This is me spitballing. I'd remove Don Krieg and all his crew entirely. Put Mihawk there, right? And have it be Mihawk is visiting the chef to be like, hey, I need your maps and I need you back. I need you back in it for one last job or something. And Sanji's like, no, you can't take him until like he dies and I take over the ship naturally or stuff like that, right? And have it just be Mihawk, who is an important character in the series rather than fucking Don Krieg, right? And
I also think it would be good to have a middle ground between those two ideas and have like Mihawk be the main focus, which he really should be. But then like, you know, you've got like Full Body or Just Gin there as like the jobber, like 3 chapters on either side of Mihawk bad guy who you can punch. And like, that's enough. Cause like, I can't see Mihawk in at large doing the thing you just suggested, even though I think it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. It would ruin like some of the mystique of Mihawk, where he just shows up, just fucking kicks Zoro's ass, and then just kind of leaves, right? That would make Oda have to write the character beforehand.
Purple is the best in chat says Don versus Luffy isn't bad, but boy does it drag. No, it is bad. There's nothing interesting about that fight. It's just like a guy going, go gadget, new ability, and Luffy going, this doesn't really matter to me. And then Luffy multiple times is just like, I've got so much grit, I'll punch you through the spikes. And like that should have been enough to take him down, because it's like, oh, Luffy's got more grit and he doesn't care about all your military might. But then he just keeps
there's
going.
poison. Oh, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Oh no, he's got a big boomstick. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
he's got big armor. Oh, it doesn't matter.
And also, it's just like the poison happens, and then it's just like the guy sacrifices his own mask to give Luffy a mask, and then the guy lives anyways.
Someone says, what about Yosaku and Johnny? You know, I was considering putting them on my Why Are You Here chart, but actually, they are there to facilitate the Nami betrayal, and they do that just fine. They're a good transition, and they're not taking up focus outside of that, and that's a-okay. So I'm okay.
We don't get extended Johnny and Yusaku backstory.
Yeah, that's great. Like I think they're silly little guys.
I guess we could talk about this at Logtown, or whatever, Logtown, Rogue Town, whatever it's called. It never has a consistent translation. It should be Rogue Town. But can I just say, I hate Zoro's backstory. Where it's just like, I can never be a strong enough swordsman because I'm a woman. It's like, oh no, what are you doing?
It's a fucking shonen manga. Like,
it doesn't pay off. It just doesn't.
It's like this thing of like, it's like, oh man, I can't be strong like you, Zoro, because I'm a woman. And also, it's shonen manga. You have people with fucking devil fruit powers. You got fucking guys fucking taking cannons to the chest and being fine. It's just like, why can't a woman be strong? It's so stupid.
Yeah, my main hang up with it is always like, okay, if the theme of Zoro's backstory is like his childhood female best friend having hang-ups and like societal pressure issues based on the fact that she is a girl about why she can't be a swordsman, are girls going to be important to Zoro's story in any way? No.
But wait, what about Kuina, one of the worst characters in the whole series?
You mean Tashigi?
Do I? No, who cares? But literally fucking who cares? Cut Tashigi. I don't give a shit about her.
God. Yeah, it's tragic, because like I feel like they had the Zoro and that swordsman girl had like a really like interesting dynamic, but it's just like, because she was like, oh yes, I know all about these swords and I'll help you like pick out the swords. Which I feel like the Zoro throwing the sword that's supposed to kill you in the air and it dodging his arm was like a really like cool scene.
That's just cool. I like that moment.
But then it's completely like undermined, I feel like, by the fact that he gets a second cool sword that's just there, right? It's like, I feel like if he was stuck with like 2 swords for a while and then had to find his 3rd sword, I feel like it would have been like a lot more.
No, but Aloha, it super matters because there's so many. There's like 100 cool swords.
There's 100 cool swords.
And
that
then
she said, yeah.
And then in Wano, they're like, some of the swords are from Wano, and it's like, oh, the swords, and it's like, do they matter? And Oda's like, looks at notes. No, I guess. Shit, sorry guys.
But like, I don't know. It's just like you could have just like waited and give him more important swords with like lore instead of just like, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's so
with
insane to me.
With Zoro's whole story, there was just a line he had in Rogue Town after meeting Tashigi where he's like, I guess there are female swordsmen. That made me so mad for no reason.
No, I see why it would make you mad. God, someone in chat, Wolf Tree, I'm glad Oda gets kind of better about the wild misogyny. Still has his problems, but it's better. Don't know if it is, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oda needs to learn how to draw women, first of all. Oh, God.
Remember when Zoro almost cuts off his own arm to get a free sword? Yeah, but I love that scene, right?
That scene's cool. It's great,
Yeah.
like, it's a good moment, because it's just, like, a good personality moment for Zoro.
Yeah.
And also, it's insane to me that Zoro doesn't get any swords, like that cursed one that, like, he mentions it once, he's like, whoa, I just used this and tried to cut something, and it cut something I didn't mean to. A sword's supposed to obey its master. He needs swords that have powers, like a sword that can like shoot wind and slice from a distance. He never gets any.
I feel like that would easily like make things more dynamic in a manga sense, right? Like, due to the visual like storytelling, it's so many times you can do like the same like sword pose and then do the same slash, right? Like with like all of like fucking Luffy's powers, it's like, oh, the gavel where he twists his legs, and then it's just like, oh, you know what's gonna happen. It's like, oh, Gum Gum Bazooka, I know it, and then it's just like Zoro is like, Onigiri, I do the pose.
Yeah, get used to it. Someone in chat from Egg, real question, and this is a question for me and Bo, I guess. I can't remember. Is there a fight where a woman wins against a man in One Piece? I don't know if there is.
There might be. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
There has
Every
to be,
time
like...
Nami gets to fight, it's against a girl. And I know that because I'm pissed because she always gets a girl. Nami's fight in Ennis Lobby makes me so fucking mad. It's the worst girl fight in anything I've ever seen.
I rein you all in.
Good.
We'll see that later.
We will.
But right now.
Yeah, sorry.
Misogynistic Oda. Yeah, I know.
We're all here for this is a collective book club.
Yeah.
But yeah, do we have anything else to say on Baratier before fucking leaving it behind forever?
Baratier, Mihawk.
Oh.
You like Mihawk?
Mihawk's cool.
I think Mihawk serves the most cunt out of all the cast.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, look at him.
He looks cool.
Yeah, Mihawk.
I like that he has an actually unique look. There's been plenty that's been said about how Oda draws women all the same. He also has a generic man face that's less prevalent, but I notice it a lot.
Yeah, it's like he has a generic man face, but at least he has like the interesting facial hair to kind of just like don't look at the Pearl likers in chat, okay? They don't matter.
That was I remember that was something Jello brought up. There was a Q&A question where it was like, I mentioned that I liked Buggy, and my friend thought I was a freak.
Liking Buggy is objectively right, though.
Yeah, Jello pitched that to me. It's like, what are your thoughts on Buggy? Because I am the resident strange character design liker. Literally, Buggy looks like an average One Piece man to me. You could take away his rubber nose, he would look like every other man in the series that ever existed.
Yeah. For people asking questions of like things, like, we're talking about East Blue. Hold on to your questions for the other things. If you want to see like
Wrangle it in.
We'll get to it. But yeah. So there's Brody. Fucking what happens after that? Which one is that just like
Arlong.
Oh yeah, Arlong Park.
Yeah,
Fuck
Arlong.
yeah. I was wondering if because it's just like I man, One Piece has like the anime has a lot of filler that doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, we're not going to be talking about it.
Yeah, I know.
You know
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about G8 when we get there, and none of the rest of it.
Yeah. And so Arlong Park, honestly, I like obviously Arlong Park probably has like the best scene so far in like East Blue, like we talked about, like the Nami hat scene. I feel like I like Nami's motivations a lot, just like stealing from pirates to get money to like pay off Arlong to free her village and stuff. I feel like is a very interesting take on like just all the stuff, and like at least the interesting stuff of just like the fishmen being like, we're just superior to humans, and then you know.
I was really excited to. So I've read up through Baratier or watched it quite a few times with friends.
Yeah.
And then I always stop because I hate it. And Arlong, I've been waiting to get back to Arlong because Fishman racism comes back in a big way later, and I was like, I wonder if this will change my view of this. And I find Arlong written kind of weird in retrospect.
Yeah.
Knowing his full deal. Because like he doesn't come back, but he does like get mentioned later on, and you learn more about him through another character who knew him. And I don't know, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but I find Arlong quite a boring villain by himself. Like he does some really evil shit, but like he's just he's just like a mob boss. He doesn't actually have that much personality to him. And he's fine. Like he facilitates a really cool backstory for Nami, but if I'm being honest, I find him boring, and I don't really like his fight that much.
Yeah, and his crew is also kind of boring, where it's like, I like Buggy's crew, because it's like, oh, this guy's a lion tamer, this guy's an acrobat, and it's just like, I'm a fish guy who knows fish guy karate, and it's like, I'm a fish guy who knows fishman swordsmanship, and I'm just like, okay, cool. It's just normal man things, but fishman tacked on top of it. It's like, okay.
No, it's different, because it's fish.
It's fish, yeah. Like...
The only thing I found vaguely interesting about Arlong in particular was his sort of weird thing with Nami of him being like, I'm going to keep you here, but like, let's pretend you're not a hostage. I want you to be here by choice. You're not, but we're going to pretend you are.
Yeah,
it's his relationship with Nami, I think, has a lot of potential to be really interesting. And I don't know if I'd say it is, if you think about it. For like, I honestly think it might have been more interesting if he was just like, after a while, he's like, you know what? I genuinely think that Nami is worth this, like, more than this town's like weekly or monthly protection money. It's just like, if you sell yourself to me, actually, in retrospect, if he asked to have a human slave and bought her in exchange for her town, I think that would have been way more interesting in the long run, given what you learn about fishmen later on.
Yeah.
Because that's 100% some shit Arlong would have done, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Oda, I am knocking at your door.
Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just like, it has the emotional high of the Nami scene. It has the very interesting fight, which is like fucking Luffy drowning. Right? Because like fishmen should be the natural enemy of devil fruit users, right? Like some sort of like fucking weapon triangle of fishmen should be good against devil fruit against normal man, and I guess normal man beat fishman. Like,
by way of oppression, I guess.
I don't know. Yeah.
I guess so. I actually, it's funny. I do like Arlong's retainers well enough, but like mostly because I thought none of them stuck around too long, which becomes I especially like the Hachi, is that his name? He's got a really funny thing with Zoro. And I do like that the way he loses in the end is it's just like his wounds also reopen, and Zoro's a lunatic who's used to that, whereas Hachi isn't.
That was the moment I realized that fucking Zoro spent all of East Blue injured. I was like, what the fuck? His wounds just keep reopening, and he keeps fucking bleeding out on the floor, and I'm like, damn, I kind of like this,
Like-
and it's kind of funny.
Like, I don't like that, Oda later on tends to do, like, every crew member needs a fight, and here they all are. But I will say, I do like that the kissing fishman
Yeah.
just exists to give Usopp a fight, and
Yeah.
it's a stupid fight, and it's funny, and Usopp legitimately wins. Like, it's barely even trickery. Like, he just wins a fight.
He just covers him in oil and sets him on fire, and then Usopp comes back and it's like, I won! You wouldn't believe it, I fucking did it! And then he's like stays away from Arlong, looking through that hole that they keep doing the same panel for, where it's just like you see Usopp as a speck, who's just like yeah, go, yeah.
Let me tell you, when I was, because Arlong Park is maybe a little longer than it needs to be. I remember, like, I was like, I'm pretty sure. I remember being told Oda really likes to do something big on each of his 100 chapters, and I'm pretty sure we're doing the first 100 chapters. So the Grand Line has to be like chapter 100 or 101 or something, right? Like it's got to be like the barrel. And I was looking at the chapter count, reading Arlong, and I'm like, we're getting really close to 100, and we're still here. And I was like, is Logtown like? Is it like 3 chapters? And it was, and I didn't mind. And I was kind of like, it's refreshing. Oda should do this more often.
Yeah. In Arlong Park, I really fucking loved the old man with the window hat. Like he's just fucking great because he might as well just be like Nami's dad, right?
I
Where
didn't remember the moment where I didn't remember at all that her tattoo was a combination of like I knew it was the tangerine. I thought it was just a stylized tangerine, but I forgot there's a shot where it's like at the grave she has like the pinwheel and the it's like
I love
that's her
that.
2 surrogate parents. That's so sweet,
Yeah,
honestly.
It's so
It's
like
very cute.
and I'm just like, God, I love this guy, and he cares so much about Nami, and it's just like Nami's mom was also very interesting. I like that she stood up against the fisherman until the very end. I feel like that's like very like,
Belmare is great.
yeah, just like the tangerines and just like it's like if you wanted that book, I could have just bought it, and it's just like, nah, I'm stealing. And it's like, kid. I don't know. It's just it's very emotional because it's just like where does Pinwheel go? And then it just cuts to like the grave, and I'm like, God, fuck. Oh man.
Nami has the first, what I'm gonna call the One Piece backstory, like the stock thing where Oda Oda will get you with the sad backstories. He does a really good job, and hers is the first like you get Sanji's, and Sanji's is good, but like it doesn't make me cry. It's just like, wow, neat. And then pretty much all the ones from here on out, you're like, oh, that's rough. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, like it's so fucking like God, like, and then Nami like running and not saying bye to everyone, and then stealing their wallet so they don't feel as bad about her leaving. Like,
yeah, it's
I feel
very
like
funny.
I feel like that's like one of my favorite things that like Luffy in like One Piece does, like with like the Kobe thing, where it's just like Kobe wanted to join the Marines, and so Luffy like treated Kobe like shit for a little bit, so the Marines didn't think they were friends, and he was trying to help in his like own way, even though the Marines knew, right? And we're just like, it's fine, we don't care. It's just like he was a good pirate, you know. And it's just like, but it's just like
they did good showing instead of telling.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
Where it's just like it's a constant thing where it's just like people they try to make it easier to say goodbye to the people they love, right? Where it's just like Luffy looks like an asshole to Kobe so he can easily join the Marines and stuff. Like Usopp doesn't really say goodbye to the villagers because he's just like, yeah, I just kind of want them. He doesn't let them know that he was like a hero or anything. He just leaves, right? Nami like runs and doesn't say goodbye and steals their wallet so that they don't feel like so bad about leaving. It's just like a kind of a constant
It's
thing.
really interesting. Every East Blue arc ends with a runaway.
Yeah.
And so does Alabasta, but almost every single other arc ends with a massive party with the entire cast.
Yeah.
And I kind of prefer this. They even say it at the start. It's like, this is how pirates should leave a town.
Yeah.
They should be chased out. And I like that. That's interesting.
Because they play around with the fact that pirates aren't supposed to be like there's a whole hang up about treating them like heroes that just kind of goes away.
I should I should mention, Vanilla Snow Golem asks, "Wait, are the chapter covers canon? I kind
Yeah.
of skipped over them.
Yep.
You need to read those.
You do.
Yeah.
They are not only are they
They are-
canon, but they're like the biggest sources of foreshadowing and connective tissue of the entire
Yeah.
series.
Like the covers that show like how Buggy manages to get to Logtown, right? Like
Yeah. Oh man, you know one character who super didn't need to come back, Alvida.
yeah. God, I wish Alvida still looked like she used to.
Yeah, speaking of character designs that are interesting and I like them, I like original Alvida's design a whole lot. Her new design's fucking boring.
Yeah. Like you said,
She
they like
ate,
removed
she
the
ate the
freckles.
yas fruit.
Yes,
where
yes
they
fruit.
yassified her.
God damn.
I literally
we needed to see the fat woman become generically pretty.
I
We
look
needed
at the
it.
camera, I frown. I literally was like, does Alvida ever do anything? Is there any excuse for her to exist? And no,
No.
he never does anything. But like Buggy
Yeah.
does a lot. Buggy's really important over the whole series. Alvida, no. Like
Someone
she
just-
Alvida is just there with him.
Fucking
it's
yeah, someone was like, "That's the big lady." It's like, yeah, I remember. I was talking to Roma, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm reading One Piece," and I was reading like the like Buggy cover things, and I was like, "Yeah," and like Buggy's with this like hot woman, and Roma's like, "Yeah, that's Alvida." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, Oda just does this sometimes," and I'm like, "Okay." God.
yeah. The oh my god. So much. Oh, I will say one of my favorite things, and this has been a favorite thing of mine about One Piece forever. If we're gonna transition into like Alvida showing up in
Yeah,
Logtown,
Lockdown,
Mhm.
I love I think it's genuinely one of the smartest things Oda's ever done as a writer. That you meet the Marines, and every time any Marine is useless or evil, and you meet Morgan, he's awful. All the other
Yeah.
guys are useless there. There's the fucking
Oh yeah.
I don't remember his name.
The guy
The guy
with
who
the
looks like a
ears?
mouse.
Yeah.
Nezumi.
Nezume, who is he's helping Arlong extort the town. He's straight up evil. There's Full Body, who fires on Luffy's ship just because they're flying a pirate flag, even though they it's funny because Luffy does not commit a single crime in all of East Blue, actually. And then you get to Smoker,
God.
and he has this amazing introduction where everyone's like scared of him, and they're like, "Oh, Captain Smoker,"
The
and
girl drops her ice cream.
and he leaves out. It's like, "I'm so sorry, Captain Smoker," and I don't remember exactly how they phrase it, but I know in the anime he's like, "You drop. I'm sorry, my pants ate your ice cream.
Yeah,
Here,
exactly
try
that.
5 scoops next time." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're the best."
I love him.
Smoker is fantastic. He deserves more screen time than he gets. He's one of the most interesting characters. I
Yeah.
love him, and it's so fun to just have a character who is just like, I'm the good guy Marine, and I don't give. He's immediately like, I don't give a fuck what. Like he's literally like, I can sense something's about to happen. I'm going to chase after Luffy, and they're like, what do you like? I love how immediately he's got a great read on people too, because he sees Luffy laughing when he's about to
Yeah.
die in the stocks, and he's like, that fucking guy's gonna be such a problem.
Yeah, it's like the only other man to do that is Gold D. Roger. Yeah.
So he goes and he starts chasing after Luffy, and they're like, sir, what do we tell Command? He's like, tell Command to eat my fucking ball sack. Is what you can tell them.
Oh god, I love him. It's fucking great. I love
Love Smoker. Wish Oda loved him too.
Yeah. Fucking, I just love Rogue Town. It just was short, sweet. It is just like Buggy shows up and it's like, yeah, remember me, fuckface? And it's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then like Luffy's like, haha, I'm gonna die, Zoro. And Zoro's like, huh? What?
Yeah, and it's really good.
Yeah.
And it's so short and sweet and wonderful. And like, I was just talking with some people who were like, like some of our friends, and we were talking about Hunter x Hunter and what's his name, Tagashi, and like Yu Yu Hakusho, and how like editors can genuinely really fuck up a manga.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but also genuinely, like, just as many times as they do that, we have no idea how many times they save a manga. And this is back in the era where Oda definitely had an editor, and I think he needs someone to keep a leash on him. I think the second half of One Piece is way worse than the first half. And in this arc, it's done completely off screen, and Oda wanted to do this, but in the anime they add this sub arc where Usopp has a sniper fight with someone who met his dad, who is just one of Shanks's crew members, and it's like this sharpshooter bounty hunter whose name is Daddy the Father. And his thing is that he's got a little girl, and like he and Usopp kind of connect over like a dab, but like Usopp loses a fight and he's like, if you can beat this sharpshooting fight, then I won't kill you, and because you're a pirate. And Usopp's like, I have to do it. I have to. I don't know why I'm doing Jason Griffith, Usopp, but I have to do it. And it's just like the thing that Nami and Usopp are doing, because Nami's just spectating it, and Usopp like gets his goggles from it, and an editor was like, go to the fucking Grand Line, cut this dumbass shit. And that was inarguably the right call. And they also cut some stuff Nami does. They cut some more shit with Zoro and Shigi or whatever her stupid name is that doesn't fucking matter. And it's just like immediately Buggy, the fucking stand, there's a storm, some mysterious guy who obviously Bo and I know who it is, but don't say, chat. Yeah. It's like, oh, there's a story. It's like, who am I to get in the way of someone's journey? And they go off to the Grand Line. It's hype as fuck. It's just a launch pad to the rest of the series, and it's great. And I would literally kill for Oda to do that more often.
It's just like editors are a slippery slope, because like they like for every time they save one, I just hear like stories about them ruining it. Like Bleach, for example. I don't know if you know what happened to Bleach, but Bleach's opening arc is like great. Like the start of Bleach is amazing, and everyone's like, yeah, they loved it. And then Tite Kubo was like, okay, I'm gonna do something else. And then they were like, no, do that again 50 more times. And he was like, what? And it's like, yeah, do that arc again, but 50 more times, dude. And then they were like, well,
that sucks, obviously, but like, like it's
so
obviously
hard.
Like I know the manga industry is real mean to their creators in a million different ways, but this is one example where just like you have the evidence. It's like Oda is better with editor shackles, and you'll see as he loses them as time goes on. You're just like, oh man, I really miss East Blue.
It's ongoing theory is definitely as One Piece became the most popular manga in the world, everyone became scared to tell Oda no, ever.
Oh, yeah, Oda, you're not Oda. Aloha, you had a thing about One Piece being as popular as that you wanted to ask as a...
Yeah, like, why do you think One Piece is as popular as it is? Just, I'm wondering what you guys' idea is, and I'm going to go into my explanation of why I think it's as popular as it is.
It stays... It's very for 14-year-old boys. It's like aggressively juvenile, and I don't always mean that in a bad way. But it's like always had the same audience, and it's exactly who Shonen Jump is for, and it's been very consistent. Pirates are fun. It's got fun powers. Like, it's hard to say. I'm trying to like imagine what its contemporaries were, because it's hard to imagine if I had to like read the start of One Piece. And you were like, how popular do you think this series is? I would not say, oh, the most successful thing in the whole world. Like, I don't think I would even put it in like the top 40%. I'm like, this seems fine. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Bo, and then Aloha? Because I don't think I have a good answer.
I would say it's the same thing of... It's aimed at its audience very well. I think it does enough with all of the characters to get you attached to them, and rides a very long time on, like, you can kind of predict what's going to happen, and you can anticipate things in a fun way that I think is appealing to people a lot.
Yeah, it also, chat is saying, it's any series where characters just have powers, and you can imagine your own uses for powers, or if you're reading it, you can imagine like, oh, what devil fruit would I have? What quirk would I have? That's always an easy way.
That's a quality that every single shonen manga has, though. Right?
That's true. Yes.
So the reason I think One Piece is, it's gonna sound crazy. One Piece is so popular is because it's original. Now, what does originality
Yeah.
mean in a manga format? The manga industry, as it is unoriginal. Literally everyone is stealing from everyone, right? Like you can see in like Boku no Hero Academia, where they just steal fucking Kakashi's whole entire test for like a point for like, from Naruto to like Boku no Hero Academia, and then like you can see like Sasuke's eye family bullshit being taken from Hunter x Hunter, for example, right? One Piece is in its art, in the fact that it's a pirate manga, so original that if anyone tried to take something from it, they would instantly be known for stealing from it. It's so recognizable. Like its art style, the fact that it's the only pirate manga, right?
Yeah,
Oda was smart and took from something no one else would take from, which is fucking Waterworld.
Yeah. Like it's this thing of just like its originality and like the designs and all this other stuff. I would compare it to like Akira Toriyama's work, where it's like kind of, I love it, but it's also ugly in a way that no one would replicate. Right?
You're right. Yeah.
I'm
in the small camp where I genuinely, if it's actually Akira Toriyama, like his stuff, I genuinely like his artwork.
I'm talking about,
I think he is a good artist, but like if you're talking about like super and
oh, Jello died. Nope. Yeah, dude, he disappeared. But basically what he's getting at is like, I'm talking about like OG, like Akira Toriyama, like OG Dragon Ball, and like, what was that other thing, Sand Planet or whatever the fuck, like the other
no fucking clue.
But like, hello Jello.
Hello.
You live now? My Discord crashed, lol. He typed in chat. Okay.
Crash.
Yeah, but no. Pretty much, I'm saying the same thing, like OG Dragon Ball, like the actual Akira Toriyama stuff, before it get watered down by like what manga turned into, or like what, like I said, the generic shonen stuff. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would also give, like, if building on what you said about the idea stealing, for all of Oda's faults as a writer, like as insane as this is, I genuinely believe that Oda knew exactly what story he was going to tell and only changed about 20% of it from minute one. And like, I think he paces it badly and he focuses, and like, he has new ideas for like side characters and adds them in. And like, sometimes editors do fuck him over. Like, I believe editors are the ones who are like, add the, what are they called? The super rookies or whatever, that like long. Like editors added those, and he was like, oh my God. All right. And he kind of like fitted some of them in with the ideas he had. And then others, it's like, oh, I don't fucking know. Leave me alone.
Squeeze them in here.
But he knew the story he wanted to tell from minute one. Like already you can see a bunch of moments, even in East Blue, that are like, yep, he knew what he was going to do with 600 chapters from now, which is very impressive.
Yeah, because like, so one thing, it's a minor spoiler. It's like a little tiny spoiler. I noticed, because I watched certain parts of One Piece later on. One of the stories that Usopp was telling the girl was about how he met the little people.
Oh, I will just say now, because this is a fun thing to look out for, every single story Usopp tells comes true. Every single one. It's a running joke.
That's fucking great. I love it. So it's just like, Oda knows what he's doing from a writing thing and has plans, and I really respect it. And like, I love this. I honestly, right now, I love One Piece. Right? Like East Blue so far has been like a pleasurable experience. Like, obviously it has its lows, but like most stories do have their lows, right? And due to the fact of it being like, weekly serialization obviously always affects the story, right? Like, but so far One Piece is great. Eventually Oda's endurance is gonna falter. The art is probably gonna get worse, and the pacing is gonna get worse as well. But that's just like natural.
Like, life cycle. you can agree or disagree with this. Let me know. Because we have read a good like Aloha watched some later One Piece, and the anime gets famously ugly and terribly paced. But I was like reading some of the most recent chapters because I do keep up with it, and reading East Blue, I'm just like, this is like, I love Oda's art style. Like, not even no joke. It's really unique, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, just like the way that like Nami and Sanji look and stand, they just have like so much personality and they're so cute. Like even like Sanji is really cute. He's just like a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
guy. And like
I was surprised to go back on it and look at them and be like, oh, these are babies.
Yeah.
They look like
and
babies.
it's nice. And they all
It
look
is.
good. And man, oh man. I would and then I like went to a later chapter and I was like, the panel composition is worse. I don't like how characters are drawn as much.
Yeah.
I think every time skip design is worse than the original one.
There's a lot less like there's a lot less negative space and a lot
Yeah,
less
oh
room
my
to
God,
breathe.
Yeah.
way less negative space.
Like it's this thing of,
That was a lot of like panels that I bookmarked just because I really liked how they looked. It was a lot of them were panels that had no background, and it was just
Yeah.
very striking with the characters
Oh,
in an empty void.
a lot of people make fun of manga artists who have like no backgrounds, like Type Kubo in a lot of Bleach, right? But like it's this thing of like visual clarity is so important in manga,
Mhm.
right? Like in most things, obviously, but it's just like especially in manga to me, because like if you can't tell what's going on at like a first glance, then if you have to stop your flow of reading to be able to tell what's going on, the only part where I had this issue was when on Barati, where Sanji was fighting the Tonfa guy, and then it was like, how the fuck did he end up in this position? I have no clue what was going on, but Sanji's on the ground now with like a Tonfa on his head, right? I was like, clarity gone. I don't know what the fuck is happening, right? But for the most part, like the good thing about Luffy's power is that it provides this scale to give you context and more clarity about what's going on in the fight, right? Because like in Romance Dawn, one example is Luffy does like a giant.
Sorry, real quick before you move on, I'm literally
Yeah.
like scrolling through my notes to see if I have anything else to say. And I was saying this, but I forgot I'm on Push to Talk.
Yeah.
You were like, I literally have no idea what happened, and I literally just scrolled over the page spread of that moment of Sanji getting pinned to the ground, and I just have it captioned, I don't know what the fuck's going on these two pages.
Yeah, like it's like something cool happened, but I didn't fucking get to see it. But it's just like, and it's in Romance Dawn, I think that's where it like got me, where it's just like Luffy raises his leg up super high, and then it just like it captures the scale of the pirate ship and everything going on, right? Because that's the great thing about it. Is like the backgrounds are, for the most part, boat and ocean, right? Unless you're on an island. And so it really simplifies things. So it's just like, and with Luffy's power, you can get this good sense of like scale and like clarity and stuff. And so it's just like, it's a bad thing in a lot of manga. And I'm sure that some Zoro fights get bad visual clarity due to the fact that you can't really get that sense of scale.
You have no fucking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say all of the fights have pretty bad visual clarity later on. My eyes. The big thing that happens in late One Piece is what I call the second act running fight that lasts for about 50 chapters every time, and it's always just like, here's these characters, we're cutting to these ones, and it's just like, it's just, it blears together and nothing matters. And like seeing how clear and how good early One Piece looks, it's like, oh my goodness, I can tell what's there were only like 3 times I had to go back and look over a page again.
And even then, like, detail isn't good, right? Like, a lot of people talk about like Berserk and stuff, where it's just like, oh man, there's so much detail, but detail does not equal clarity, which is good for like, not good for like a comic background, where it's just like person reading Naruto made a comic after he like finished Naruto called, I think it was like Samurai 6 or 7 or 8, I can't remember what fucking number it was, but it was so detailed and beautiful, but god, could you not tell what the fights were like, what was going on in those fucking fights, right? And so it's just, oh god,
at some point it becomes a visual noise.
Yeah, it's not a good time. But yeah, so we talked about fucking all of East Blue pretty much. Like, I don't think we've fucking missed a topic really so far on what we talked about.
I saw a few people point out that we skipped Gaimon. There's nothing to say there.
Skipped who?
Gaimon,
the
treasure chest man.
Fuck, I guess we did. I mean, that's enough. That's all we need to say about it.
Yep, he exists.
Yeah. Why is it One Piece if I gotta buy 4 box sets, Jello?
Why are you asking me?
don't know.
Yeah,
I think,
let me skim over any of my notes. I don't think I have any other notes, but I want to check real quick.
Do we want to do a Q&A section with chat for like a little, just that tiny
Yeah,
bit?
so they're here. It's an interactive book club, and
it's
that
an
like
interactive book club. Obviously, don't ask us spoiler questions. This is for the first 100 chapters, okay? First 100 chapters, East Blue, homie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be looking at chat. We wait for chat.
Yeah.
I wait patiently for the question. Will there be a
God
book club?
No.
No, Luffy. We might in like 8 years when we finish reading One Piece, we were gonna like take votes on what. I saved one page that's just a spread of Luffy and Buggy, and Buggy's trying to be cheeky, and he's like, maybe I do know Shanks. Where is he now? So you want to know where he is, huh? Well, maybe I know. Then again, maybe I don't. What are you talking about? Are you an idiot? Watch it! Luffy's just funny. Genuinely.
Should Gaimon
Yeah,
have
there are a
joined
lot
the
of
crew?
No.
There are a lot of good parts in early One Piece that I just point to of like, this is something directly out of a gag manga. Like, without fail.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Don't react to this chat, but I did grab. I was shocked to see Jimbei and Fishman Island getting a name drop as early as they did.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because like a character's trying to talk about it, and the other everyone, all the party members are just like, whatever, we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah. Someone says, did you like Nami's Luffy help me moments? Yeah, I genuinely like that because it was not coming from a misogynistic I'm a woman, I need a man's help kind of lens, which was like, I feel like would be an Oda problem normally. It was like, you're my friend and I need help of this bad situation, and Luffy's like, I got you. And Luffy was like, I don't want to stick my head in your situation because it seems like you want to handle it yourself. And then when Nami's like, Luffy, please help, it's like, yo, okay. And Luffy instantly acts, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna kick his ass, and puts the hat on her head, and I'm like, yeah, that's great.
And it's great because like Luffy's always like, yeah, I'm the captain. I'll do this shit for my crew members. And Nami obviously doesn't consider herself a crew member, and at this point nobody else does. But Luffy's just like, yeah, no, she's still on our crew. I said she was on our crew. She's on our crew. I'm the captain. Yeah. And that's a really consistent thing.
Mm-hmm. He shouts, of course I will, and it's great. Yeah, it's fucking great. It's just like, oh, I love the emotion of it. Like,
I'd like to negatively react on Oda's fanfiction.net notes where people are like, how big are Nami's tits? And he does like back and forths with him, Nami, and Sanji trying to get her boobs. And it's like, I hate all of this.
yeah.
I want to point out, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I had the weirdest reaction to seeing her actual measurements printed. Because one, I saw that her chest size was 34 inches, and I was like, that's small. That is not big. And then I saw that her waist was 22 inches. That is an inch smaller than the circumference of my head. I checked.
I mean, we all know how Oda draw women.
I know.
God, do you ship Nami and Luffy? I ship Luffy with no one.
No, Luffy has huge ace energy.
I ship
Oda
Luffy
even
with
said that
happiness.
at some point, and I think he went back on it, but he did straight up say that he doesn't care.
Yeah, super fair. God, I love that, man. Luffy X meat, yeah.
Sanji, if I can just talk a little bit, I pasted Sanji's intro with full body. Sanji's intro is so extremely strong, just him being super charming with the shitty Navy customer, and then the instant he insults the food, it just cuts to the guy bloody and beaten in Sanji's hand, and he's holding him by his head, and you're like, this guy's awesome. And when early Sanji has some great notes, especially in the next sitting we're going to be reading. I love the shit he does in Alabasta and his role relative to the rest of the crew. Sanji has this thing where I would call him like the spy character, or like the, because he's suave,
Yeah.
or he's supposed to be, and he ends up like, again, he should be like dodging attacks and stuff. Like he's nimble, and he's like, his color is black, where like everyone's got their own color, and his is black, and I love at the start, like, he starts flirting with Nami in like a, oh my goodness, I've never seen such a beautiful, like, clearly an overwrought way. But then, like, and he immediately pivots to another woman. It's like, clearly this is part of his shtick. And he does like women, but like, in a way that could be seen as like charming. Whereas like, not even 100, maybe like 200 chapters later, he's full on just like, Nami Swan! It's like, oh, I wish you were dead. Like, it's so horrible.
God. All right, let me try to find some more questions from chat. It's
God, this great exchange I have captured of just like the original 5 crew members is all we ever needed. And it's Sanji giving Nami like a free drink, and she just goes, "Oh, how gallant!" Not at all. Hey, like, Usopp. Hey, don't we get any? That's discrimination. I'll sue. I gave you tea, didn't I? You should be grateful, you mangy octopus. You want to fight? I'm not gonna take that from you. Get him, Zoro.
I love that.
And he grabs Zoro. Get him yourself. And then it cuts. And then in the background, you see like big Pac-Man mouth Luffy about to eat the thing that Nami was just given, and it's like, this crew is so charming.
I love it. Oh God.
I think there's even like a background text thing where you just see Usopp. It's like, I want my fruit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's time, because we're getting on that topic of I'm gonna have to edit some of the thing, because I don't think I forgot to do it. So you're gonna see big Jello for a bit. We're gonna do. If you guys can still see my screen that I'm sharing, tier list. I have to move Bo and Jello to like a part where they're not like.
You gotta throw me to the fucking wolves.
Yeah, why doesn't the
Big
Bo?
Bo.
Why doesn't
Big
the Big
Bo
Bo
the
just?
same size as Jello.
Yeah. So yeah, we wanted to do Straw Hat rankings. So I found this like tier list. I don't want to do all the fucking East Blue characters, because fuck that. That'll take like a million years.
Yeah, we're just
God, no.
we're just gonna be showing where the Straw Hats are in relation to each
Yeah.
other every saga, every time we
Yeah.
read.
And I let the cow there because it looked polite.
I like
okay.
Moo Moo.
Yeah. So I feel like the easiest one, fucking just Usopp S, just already. Like Usopp being at S is just, we love him. We always love him. I don't think he'll ever be removed from this tier. Usopp's just so fucking solid.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I would put Nami and Luffy in A underneath him.
Yeah, I feel that. I respect that. It's like this thing of like Nami and Luffy. Luffy's like a mirror, right? Where it's just like he just reflects the person next to him, which I really like and I think is really interesting. But like, so far Luffy hasn't shown like his extreme own motivations and stuff, other than I want to be the Pirate King. And I really like that emotional moment where he waits for like Nami to give him like permission to be like, yeah, could you help me, right? But it's just like Usopp is just I just love Usopp. I'm sorry, man. And so
So funny. I love like scanning over. I assume there's just like characters in East Blue, and like I don't even recognize like a solid third of even the ones from the, like, I recognize filler art characters.
Yeah.
But like, so like if you bottom right, there's that dragon thing, and then directly above him is Daddy the father. No idea who the pink woman to the left is.
Yeah, like,
Oh, that was Sanji's filler arc episode in Roguetown.
Oh my god.
Carmen.
yeah,
Anyway.
like,
Hate how do you just love how I pulled that out immediately?
It's just your brand, I understand.
Yeah.
You know.
What, you think I wouldn't watch every Sanji filler episode when I was in middle school?
Like, so I feel like Zoro B. I don't hate Zoro. Like, but he's not like, I wish he had more, and I wish he had more going on right now.
I think this is the most I ever like Zoro, and I do like him pretty significantly, but B tier is accurate.
Like, conceptually, it's this thing of like, I love everything about Zoro. I just think Oda should not own Zoro, and I should own him so I could make him how I want. Right?
Sign my petition. Give Zoro to me.
I'll handle it. But I really like Zoro. But objectively, all this other things, he's B tier.
Zoro is the character I would best describe as, if someone told me that their favorite character is Zoro, I would immediately get kind of the vibe that they're a little boring.
Lenti's favorite character is Zoro.
Lenti is Lenti. But
no going back.
Yeah, and then God, Sanji.
I don't know where I'd put. I'm imagining like, where would I put Sanji if the Pearl fight wasn't there?
Yeah,
genuinely?
like the Pearl.
And I'm like,
yeah.
It's like
and I'm
I
like,
want to like.
I would not put him in S.
Like,
I
would
think
put him
that's
in-
way
like,
too generous.
I like his initial cooking stuff that they show him with like how intent he is on feeding anyone no matter what.
Yeah.
I like them setting that up right away. That's a good thing for him.
A is like pretty good. Like
you could argue A. My gut says B, but I'm okay putting it in A
Like,
because
it's
like he doesn't have any moments that I love after like. Obviously, they don't give him focus because he just got so much focus, and in the way that
Yeah.
Usopp is not really in Baratie,
Yeah.
Sanji is not really in Arlong Park. But like at
Yeah.
the same time, even when Usopp's not focal in Baratie, he gets like all these great like one line, like even right away when they pull up next to Full Body, and he's just like, "Who are you guys? Should I be worried about you?" And Luffy's like, "I'm a pirate captain. We made our flag yesterday." And then Johnny and Yosaku have like some like, "Oh my god, these guys are amateurs." Lamau, and then Usopp just goes, "I'm Usopp."
Yeah, I love. There's like multiple times where someone's like, "Who's your captain?" and Luffy says something, and you just see Usopp in the background responding too.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, and like Sanji doesn't really have any moments like that show off his personality in the background. So
But like from what we've seen in Baratie, I just really like his core of just like the East Blue stuff, the starving, feeding anyone who's like that, and then the intro you talked about where he's all polite and stuff, and then the guy's rude, and then he just cut to the guy being like a bloody pulp and stuff. It's just like it's just.
I will say. I didn't, as much as I hate that arc, I didn't give the credit for it. The idea of a floating restaurant run by pirates because the two people who ran it almost died out in the middle of the ocean. We're like, God, what if there was an ocean? Is
so
genius.
Cool.
It's such
so
a good
cool.
idea.
And I like the idea of all of the chefs being like rugged types.
Yeah,
I wish Patty and Carne didn't get as much focus as they do, because I don't understand. Not only do I not really like, if you got like Patty there as just like one, it's like, I'm the named chef that isn't Sanji, so you can see what our baseline is. That's fine. And it's like, here's a second guy, and it's like, why? And it's like those two. I'm glad even these guys are like, we're putting them in one tier together.
It's so like it's this thing of like Usopp is a great character with a great arc to set him up. Sanji is a great character with conceptually a good arc to carry him up, but it gets dragged down by fucking I'm Pearl. And then like Don Krieg and everything. It's just like it's so like
I hate looking at him.
Yeah.
I hate Pearl so much.
What, man? You don't like me and my earrings and my big pearl head and my
I don't understand why. Like, the only thing I could think of is I was like, all right, Sanji at some point in this fight talks about knives, and he gives Patty his knife, and I was like, is Pearl meant to look like an oven, like a stovetop burner? And then he sets on fire, and Sanji's like, cooks aren't afraid of fire. I'm like, is it just a setup to be like, I'm a cook, knives, fire? And if so, not good enough. But like, that's the only excuse I could think of. What do you guys think? 'Cause he does look like a burner.
Like,
and for some reason his thing he keeps saying isn't even related to pearls. It's you're smooth as polished silver.
Like, it's this thing of like Don Krieg's like whole like shtick where it's like, oh, there's the cat pirate guys, there's the clowns, that's like a circus, and Don Krieg's
the fuck is Pearl?
Defense, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. Are we gonna rank arcs also, or are we just doing Straw Hats?
I mean, like, we don't really have like any comparison, I guess, right? Is the big
Sure.
thing. So it's just like we might rank arcs later once we get like
Maybe
one.
later on.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Like,
Yeah.
but like right now, out of like, I guess we could do like out of 10, what score would you give East Blue?
Overall, like a 7 or an 8.
7 or 8?
Yeah.
I'd give it a 7 or 8 too. I feel like
Yeah,
that's
that
like a
sounds
good.
good.
I really enjoyed it, right? But it's not like life changing, right?
hmm
It's above average, so. But yeah,
It's an enjoyable time.
I think that's pretty much everything we got.
Yeah. So, thank you, Aloha, for
Yeah.
hosting this. If you see, there's a pinned link to the
Yeah.
Patreon. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and like genuinely, I hope. I really
Yeah.
do hope that some
So-
people have been like, I've been meaning to read One Piece, and this is like your excuse to finally get around to it. This one's free, and it's gonna be up free forever.
Yeah. But all the future One Piece book clubs are going to be on Jello's Patreon at the $5 tier. As you can see on screen right now, I'm showing you guys the Patreon. And at the $5 tier is where this book club is going to take place. The next chapters we're going to be doing, I have it pinned in our chat, is we're reading chapters 101 through 217. So that's pretty much the next saga, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
so-
all of Baroque Works in Alabasta.
And so at the $5 tier, right? It's not just this One Piece book club, even though that's probably, if you're subscribing for it, like, it's probably what you're doing. This amount is like a Twitch sub or anything, right? You also get other things, and also Jello has a lot of shit free. Like, example, he has this Columbo review for free, right? That you can just
That's
listen
true.
to, right?
I have a ton of stuff on my Patreon.
Yeah.
There's like literally over 100 hours of
game
me talking about
concepts,
stuff.
like process
things that
art.
I don't think Bo's ever been on any of the reviews, but I've reviewed a lot of things I've watched with Bo.
Yeah.
Ton of epithet artwork behind the streams.
Yeah.
We just did like a time lapse animatic stage to final animation and edited final animation for the Prison of Plastic opening. I did this post was popular. There's a lot of like concepts for games I occasionally talk about. And there's one called Writer's Block, which is like a game concept I had in high school, and we set that up, and like that has a lot of likes, so I imagine people were interested in it. And it's got a lot of people like honestly taking the ideas and being like, what if the game did this? I'm like, that's literally better than any of the ideas I came up with. So
like, if you like our chill streams, if you like this, then it's just like, if you just want more content on top of the content that we already shove out, Jello's Patreon is a great place to go for it. Like, it's really nice, because obviously I work for Jello, he pays me, so like.
Also, for this won't matter for a while, but like, I had a great time doing today's book club and would like to keep doing it for a while. After we finish One Piece, which like honestly, I bet is gonna take us like the better part of a year. Because even if we
we're
do
going
it
like, about 100 chapters at a time.
Like in bi-weekly, right? Like just
which like
we busy.
We're busy. We got stuff going on. But when we're done with that, I know Yam, I mentioned we were doing this, and Yam was like, that sounds so interesting. I'm not going to read One Piece, though.
Yeah.
And, like, also, there's a bunch of other manga I have not read. And I love reading. Like, I like manga so much more than anime. So I would love to, once we finish One Piece, it doesn't come up a lot, but there's actually, you can't see it where Aloha has, because it's just the 1, 5, and 10 tier. There's a $15 tier that's got all the spicy shit on my Patreon. And those guys get to donate to not donate, sorry. They get to vote on the next project. So like, I'm in the background, I'm working on a big video about Bomberman Jetters, which is going to be the best thing I've ever made. And that was decided back in like last July as the next
Yeah.
project by the people. So
Mhm.
you guys will get to vote on what series. Golden Kamui next. God,
God.
honestly, if we did Golden Kamui, I'd just be like, you have 3 weeks. Read all of Golden Kamui and get
Yeah.
back there.
Like, and
Because
also-
Bo and I have already read all of it.
And also like if you're on like the I think it's the $5 and $10 tier and stuff, you get like your name in the credits of Jello's videos, like his main
Yeah,
channel
it's
videos.
5 and up. Any
Yeah.
video I make, the rule is longer than 15 minutes in runtime. So
yeah. So
which actually is
Bomberman
gonna be-
Jetters, which is coming up eventually.
yeah, that one's gonna be on there.
Yeah.
I will say, like, you get the Prison of Plastic PDF if you do that $10 a month tier. I would honestly suggest popping it up to the 15 just to check out what else is on there, because the jump from 15 to 10 in content is not that much, but the jump to 5 to, or sorry, I said that wrong. The jump to 5 to 10 in content's not that much, but the jump to 5 to 15 is pretty significant. The $10 tier is just for the book. It's just a way that I can sell it digitally because I needed to set something up. But yeah, anyway, we'll be. Are we gonna aim for 2 weeks again?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Chapters 101 through what was it again?
217, I think.
217, and that will be fucking what is it?
Alabasta.
It's
Yeah.
all of Alabasta,
That would
which
be
for what it's
July
worth,
1st.
in my memory, and I could be wrong, I might change this opinion after we read the
Yeah.
whole thing. I think Alabasta is the high point of One Piece. I think it's the best One Piece ever gets. And there's like there's other high points, like everyone likes Water 7 and wrong people like Marineford, but like I think from what I've seen on repeat watches, Alabasta holds up and the others don't, because like some of them have like twists or big moments, and if you know they're coming, it's not as big, but like
Yeah.
Alabasta's just good.
But also, just like on top of the other stuff, if you check out the description of this video, you'll also find where you can find more of me and more of Bo as well. I
Yeah.
put Bo's Twitter because I don't know what other Bo things there are that Bo does. But
That's the correct thing.
down below you can find the Stabiness YouTube, where it's the other YouTube channel I work on, where you can see me do a bunch of TTRPG stuff with Jay and a bunch of other people you know, like Will. So yeah, thumbs up. Plugging my own shit. Yeah, boy.
Thumbs up.
But yeah, $5 tier. Next one will be Patreon exclusive stream on the same time, July 1st. Chapters 101 to 217. So I hope I guys see you then. It was really
Yeah.
nice. So
Bye.
anything else? Bye.
Bye.